All right, so thank you for tuning in to Mrs. Duvall's flipped lesson on acting methods and masters. This is for our advanced acting class, grades 11 through 12. Let's get started. So our goal today is to learn to identify the major acting techniques and acting masters of this craft. So this lesson today serves as a brief introduction to these concepts, and then we'll delve deeper into those in class tomorrow and throughout this unit. So as you watch this flipped learning video, please take notes either in paper and pencil or in a Google document. And I'll need you to go ahead and bring those to class with you tomorrow. And also there'll be a quick assessment at the end, and that will serve as your entrance ticket to class. So get ready to apply these concepts to our actual acting in class tomorrow and throughout the rest of this unit. So to get you started, we're going to be taking a journey through various acting techniques and masters in this flipped lesson. So here are some memes to get you thinking about what we'll be studying today. All right, now that I've gotten you thinking, let's get started. So acting methods date back to the late 1800s in Russia with Konstantin Stanislavski, and they continue on today on both stage and film. Most actors lean toward one method or another, but it is important to have a solid understanding of all the methods available to you so that you can pick and choose from which method works best for you as an actor. There are many methods, so we're just going to start with about 5 important methods and masters today. So our first acting method and master is Stanislavski. So Konstantin Stanislavski began his career in Russia in the 1800s at the Moscow Arts Theater as an actor, director, and producer. As the story goes, Stanislavski was apparently a terribly awkward actor when he began at the age of 14, but after working obsessively on his weaknesses, he rose to the top of his class. This is proof that no matter what your level in class is right now, you can grow leaps and bounds. So Konstantin Stanislavski is known as the grandfather of all acting techniques. Prior to his Stanislavski system, also known as the method, most actors were fairly overdramatic and overacted emotions in an attempt to look an emotion rather than to feel an emotion, and he's the one that changed this. So Stanislavski marked the shift towards inward acting methods. His method asked the actor to bring themselves into their work using their own personality and emotions as an application to their character. He used goals, objectives, and obstacles to connect the actor to the character's real-life needs. His magic what if, listed on this page, asks actors to imagine and discover things about their character by asking themselves, what would my character do if they were in a certain situation or scenario? Stanislavski's acting system serves as the basis for many other methods that we will study today, which is why he is such an important pillar in the theater and acting community. So we will spend a day in class experimenting with Stanislavski's method during this unit. The next one that we're going to study is Bertolt Brecht. He is completely different. So he, on the other hand, had an aversion to emotion on stage. His imagination of theater was that it was meant to serve as a political tool to make the audience think rather than to reflect real life or cause catharsis in the audience. In fact, he did anything it took to disconnect the audience from their feelings and from the feelings for the actors in the plays. He was also a famous playwright. Brecht created the epic theater in the early 20th century in Germany. Since it was really difficult to stop the audience from feeling anything or to direct actors towards his ultimate goal of alienation, how do you act in an alienating manner is kind of a difficult thing. So he used many theatrical elements to cause this break or disconnect in emotion. He was known to use odd symbolic movements in his actors, strange costumes, and intricate sets in order to halt the audience's emotions and cause them only to think about the material being shared rather than how they felt or how the character might feel. So we won't necessarily apply this style of acting in the classroom since it is kind of odd and more focused on the actual theatrical piece, but it is an important part of theater history and it's led to many more avant-garde absurdist styles. So it's important to remember Brecht. He's the one who pushed the limits of his time. So just to review, while the ideas from these two are very different, both masters valued simplicity. Neither wanted a huge display of an actor trying to look or quote-unquote be sad. Rather, Stanislavski wanted the actor to focus on the character's goals and using emotional recall to get those emotions, while Brecht wanted the emotions to be removed altogether. So Stanislavski, actor needs to be believable, that's the goal, and in Brecht, the actor needs to deliver content and not stir up emotion in the audience. So next we'll move on to Strasberg. So Lee Strasberg marks one of the first main American acting masters and techniques. He was born in Poland, but his family moved to New York when he was 7, and he began his acting career at 15. He studied under many Stanislavski method teachers, and there who shaped his own method of the acting style. Strasberg worked as an actor and stage manager with many influential teachers and theaters, and even took a stab at Hollywood, though he notes it was very unfruitful but educational in the 1940s. You might recognize him from his role in The Godfather Part 2, among other films. Strasberg developed his own variation of Stanislavski's method, now known as quote-unquote method acting. So this technique is known to be fairly risky as it is based on the actor's own emotional pasts and experiences. So sometimes actors can go to more dangerous places, risky places, or use some memories that would be kind of traumatic. So we will avoid that in class, of course. But he asked actors to use effective memory. And this is a step further than the emotional recall that Stanislavski used. It asks actors to find a memory that has a similar emotion to that of the one their character is experiencing, and to spend time connecting with the sensory aspects of that experience, exploring their emotions in depth. So how did you feel when this happened? What did you see? What did you smell? Where were you sitting? And to kind of connect that actor with every single part of how they felt during that emotional experience. So then this experience can be applied to their performance in a very real way, and that's why Strasberg's method acting is known as living a role. So when it's not used correctly, some actors experience traumatic and dramatic episodes. Therefore, we will try out a basic method acting exercise in class, but we will be using care in which memories we choose, not connected to past trauma, and will prime our learning space for trust and safety. And of course, we'll have plans of action from what might happen if you got too emotional. So next is Uta Hagen, and she's admittedly one of my personal favorite acting teachers. Not only was she a famous acting teacher and author, but Uta Hagen also originated many incredible roles on Broadway, such as Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and she won numerous Tony Awards. Due to being included on the Hollywood blacklist in the 1950s, as she was connected to a so-called communist friend, her film career was limited, but that didn't stop her from having a huge effect on the acting community. During her dynamic career, she wrote 2 acting technique books that we will look at in class, and she used these to ask actors to fully flesh out a character, filling in the blanks left out by the playwright and making those characters fully real in themselves. She uses her 9 questions exercise, and we will be using that in class this unit. She also asked for substitution or transference, as she later called it, which is similar to Stanislavski's emotional recall, in which an actor will apply an experience from their life in the past to a role in the moment. Hagen has a long list of followers included in those listed above, including Gene Wilder, Whoopi Goldberg, among others. So finally, the last acting technique master that we will study is Viola Spolin. She's a name that you might not recognize, but I guarantee you that you will recognize the influence of her work. So Spolin was an actor, director, and author, and she was an educator known as the mother of improv. Her book, Improvisation for the Theater, transformed completely the way that the acting and improv lessons were taught in the U.S. And her son, actually, Paul Silas, popularized her work in many important theaters, including Second City in Chicago, which is where many SNL comedians you may know have spent their time training. These include Steve Carell, Tina Fey, Bill Murray, Amy Poehler, among others. So her expression of theater used theater games and the method of play to create a kind of in-the-moment presence in the actor. We've already used many of these games in our class, but we will continue to add to our repertoire during this unit. All right, so let's take a moment to absorb what you've learned in this lesson. Feel free to go back and review if you need to, or hit pause right now to take this brief assessment on your paper or Google document. This will be your entrance ticket to class tomorrow, and it's okay if you don't get it all right. Just do your very best. So go ahead and push pause now. All right, so great work engaging with this flipped video lesson. I'll see you in class tomorrow. Make sure that you bring your entrance ticket notes with you, and we will get started trying out some of these acting techniques. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.